Death of a Unicorn marks the feature-length directorial debut of Alex Sharfman, who also serves as the film's screenwriter, known previously for producing several off-kilter indie projects like Resurrection or Blow the Man Down. Sharfman here takes a big swing, both thematically and tonally, crafting a film that blends satire, horror, and high fantasy into an audacious commentary on capitalism, grief, and the commodification of nature. Unfortunately, while the concept is refreshingly original and the ambition is palpable, the execution, in my opinion, often falters, leaving the film feeling like a promising rough draft more than a fully realized vision. So let's dive right into it. Hello, my name is Sean Morgan. Welcome to the channel. I love movies and especially dark comedies that widely are released in movie theaters. Anything that feels like it could also be a premise on the Twilight Zone is right up my alley. So I was looking forward to Death of a Unicorn once trailers started circulating around my multiplex. The premise alone is the kind of elevator pitch that sounds almost too wild not to work. A father daughter duo accidentally hits a unicorn with their car, and in the aftermath, they bring the body to a pharmaceutical magnate who believes its horn has miraculous healing powers. The discovery launches a corporate frenzy to harvest and monetize unicorn magic, with the ultra rich descending into madness. The remaining unicorns, though, begin to exact vengeance in a spectacular, bloody fashion. The story is steeped in mythological metaphor, but dressed up in modern day satire, aiming to critique the sort of rapaciousness of big business, the ethical rot at the heart of wealth driven innovation. However, Sharfman's script, in my opinion, never quite commits fully to any of its tones. It wants to be a biting black comedy, a creature feature gore fest, and an emotional family drama in some moments. But in trying to juggle so many identities, it ends up kind of doing none of them particularly well, or at least not with flying colors. The cast assembled for the film is an impressive one, boasting an ensemble led by Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, with strong supporting turns from Will Poulter, Taya Leone, Richard E. Grant, and Anthony Kerrigan. The performances are across the board committed and often entertaining, though many of the actors are not really given characters worthy of their talents, if you ask me. Rudd plays a corporate lawyer and father trying to reconnect with his daughter. He brings his signature charm and affability to the role, but the character is sometimes so frustratingly passive and morally compromised that it's difficult to root for him by the end when the movie kind of wants you to love him and be on his side. There's an arc about guilt and redemption lurking beneath the surface, but it never gets the dramatic weight that I think it needs. Ortega, meanwhile, plays Ridley, Rudd's daughter, who is poised at the beginning of the film to be the moral center and the sort of narrator when it comes to the mythological stuff within the story. She has a connection with the mythological, she has a connection with the unicorns. And Ortega has moments of intensity and presence here, but the script isn't quite up to snuff when it comes to providing the actors at large with emotionally weighty scenes to counterbalance the comedy. The true standout of the film as far as performances go is Will Poulter, playing the pill-popping trust fund burnout son of the pharmaceutical family that seeks to profit off of the titular unicorn. Poulter brings a manic, twitchy energy to the role, making the character a sort of grotesque but magnetic presence in every scene. There's something unhinged and unpredictable about his performance that lifts the entire film whenever he's on screen. Unlike Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, whose characters seem bound by narrative conventions and married to the kind of serious main character business in the script, Will Poulter is allowed to go very big. He's allowed to explore excess, and in doing so, he does inject the film with a vitality that's otherwise kind of lacking. Taya Leone and Richard E. Grant, they're amusing if underutilized as Poulter's parents. They're playing sort of this corporate power couple whose wealth has long since eroded their sense of humanity. And Leone is particularly kind of sharp as the matriarch. She's obsessed with these social optics. And Richard E. Grant is clearly chewing scenery. He manages to be both menacing and amusing as this dying mogul who is hoping for salvation via unicorn magic. Anthony Kerrigan as the deadpan butler of the family, Griff. He's another bright spot in the movie. His sort of dry delivery and his subtle facial expressions bring genuine laughs. He shows a clear understanding of the film's tonal intentions, even if the script sometimes wavers. And despite this strong cast, The film struggles to make its humor fully land sometimes. For a movie marketed partly as a dark comedy, the laughs are fewer and more far between than desired. The satire is broad and sometimes it feels kind of obvious, like corporate meetings where executives debate how best to monetize unicorns are funny, but the idea that capitalism would very quickly try to exploit mythological creatures if they were real, that's not really a new one. The film does not that much to expand on that idea. Rather than digging into like the absurdity or horror of such a world where that would happen, the film often settles for easy jokes or vague moralizing. It gestures at larger themes: environmental collapse, generational trauma, pharmaceutical ethics, but it never really explores any of them with real rigor. It kind of has a lot of the same problems that I think Mickey 17 did earlier in the year. Where the film does succeed, though, intermittently, is in its horror set pieces. One of, you know, once the unicorns begin their rampage, the film does come alive with a lot of energy and a lot of tension. The design of the creatures is good. It's like majestic, but they are kind of terrifying. They are ethereal and magical, but they're also feral. Like there's some feral unicorn business. It's imaginative, and there are some genuinely inventive kill scenes too. Sharfman seems to delight in these moments. You can tell just from watching that he's like really in his bag in those particular sequences. They're among the most memorable in the film. However, the special effects are a little bit hit or miss. Some shots feel just a little bit unfinished or awkward, undermining the spectacle that the film is kind of aiming for. Still, however, the gore is used effectively. It's not just for shock. It is shocking, but it's not just for shock. It also underscores the film's central theme, right? This idea that nature, if you commodify it, if you mistreat it, it will eventually fight back. And I also, I brought it up, but I can't criticize the VFX too much. This is a low budgeted movie that was distributed by A24. So it's not a big summer tentpole, for example. They did the best here with what they had, budgetary wise, I'm sure. So yeah, tonally, I think that the tone is the problem here. It's a little bit all over the place. At times, it seems to be, like a quirky fable, not unlike something Yorgos Lanthimos might attempt. At other times, though, it dives headfirst into B movie creature horror. These sort of competing impulses are never fully reconciled, and I think the result is a film that feels slightly disjointed, unsure of really what it wants to be. And this is most apparent in the emotional beats between Elliot and Ridley, Rudd and Ortega. Uh, these moments are treated with such sincerity that they feel sometimes imported from another movie entirely. The grief that these two are experiencing over the loss of Ridley's mother, Jenna Ortega's mother, it's referenced repeatedly throughout the film, but rarely with any impactful depth. It feels like an attempt to ground the film in something more human, but it's not given the space to develop amidst everything else. I'm not against like mixing and matching tones in movies, mind you, but the particular ratios need to be tuned in such a way that the cocktail the audience is drinking actually works, actually tastes kind of good, or at least tastes interesting. Still, despite its flaws, there is something admirable about Death of a Unicorn. It dares to be different in an industry that is saturated with lots of sequels, lots of reboots, formulaic genre exercises. It is refreshing to see a film attempt something this strange and specific. Sharfman's vision may be uneven, but it's undeniably his own, which is something to say. There's a sense of creative freedom at play here, a willingness to mix the genres, a willingness to be weird, a willingness to challenge audience expectations a little bit, and that is worth celebrating, even if the end product does not fully cohere. Audience reactions, I think, were pretty mixed, with many praising the concept and the performances, but lamenting the execution. So I'm kind of on their wavelength there. Critics kind of echoed the same sentiment, noting that the film's it kind of fails to deliver on its satirical promise fully, and the tone is inconsistent. I'm in lockstep with both audiences and critics here. I'm not going to come to bat for the movie too hard, but I do think there are some things to sing praises about. In the end, Death of a Unicorn is a flawed but fascinating debut. It is the kind of film that will likely find a little bit of a cult following, if only because there's truly nothing else quite like it. Sharfman's reach here exceeds his grasp, but the reach, the ambition itself, is commendable. The cast is good, their game, the ideas at play are indeed intriguing, and there are enough flashes of inventiveness here to make the film worth a watch if you have the time on streaming, for example. It may not be the sharpest satire or the funniest comedy, but it is a strange, bold, and occasionally very engaging meditation on what happens when myth collides with the machinery of modern greed and modern capitalism. So, for all of its missteps, Death of a Unicorn earns a begrudging admiration, not for what it achieves, but for what it attempts. For that reason, on my scale of A list, amazing, average, abysmal, and needs to be abolished, Death of a Unicorn will be getting an average rating for me. It's a 3-star movie. I commend the effort by all involved, but it just didn't fully click for me. I saved $10.99 using AMC A List on this movie. I say this not because I'm sponsored by A List, but because I plan to tally up my savings at the end of a single year to see if A List is actually worth it. Saving $11 to see a movie in a theater, even one that I didn't fully vibe with, it's almost always worth it in my book, so I have no complaints here. But did you see Death of a Unicorn? And if you did, what did you think of it? What are your favorite A24 releases in recent memory? They're really releasing more and more things than ever since Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture. And their output is getting more and more varied, too. I've really liked, for example, both Warfare and Materialists this year, though those films could, of course, not be more different. I quite enjoyed both, though. Feel free to answer those questions in the comments below. Feel free to like this video and or subscribe to the channel for thoughts on more future movies as they come out and go to streaming, or feel free to do none of those things. I'm not your boss. But until next time, thank you so much for watching this video. And until next time, don't hit any mythical creatures in the middle of the road. No unicorns, leprechauns, tooth fairies, etc. There is no telling what they're capable of doing to us if they are wronged. Thanks again. Bye.